Hello, everybody. Just decided that I'm getting so many questions, it would be a good idea to do a little Facebook Live this morning and address them to the group. So if you have a question, type it in the comment in English. We don't have a translator this morning, so just in English. Okay, so questions are coming in. We've got 10 in the first minute. So Mohammed, watching from South Africa. Hello in South Africa. I've never been there. I hope to go someday. Hello, Rakan. Ahmed asks, congratulations for big win. What's the next step for named plaintiff? Good luck. Great. Thank you, Ahmed. It is a win, but it's not the final win. I mean, really, our goal has always been to get visas in clients' hands, stamped in their passports, so they can enter on them. So let's not celebrate that yet. So next step for named plaintiffs is to continue as if we didn't get the order, and let's wait for the State Department's guidance. They cannot ignore this order. It usually takes them about a week to implement an order, but maybe they'll do it quicker in this instance because the order was so forceful. But we will be watching their website to see when they update it with guidance that gives us better direction. Also, I've asked the government attorneys to do a meet and confer with us so we can bring up some issues like transfers of cases. We need to figure out how to transfer cases from Moscow, Baghdad, Kabul. And then there's the embassies that are not processing any cases like Tashkent, Khartoum. We need, there's so many. We need to Tirana. We need to figure out how to navigate that. And so hopefully the government attorneys will agree to meet and confer to discuss that with us soon. Okay, I need to regulate comments to where they don't come as quickly because they're coming too quick. Slow, there we go. So comments will only show up every 10 seconds, and that way I won't get buried. Azadine says, what about DV-2020, please? Okay, for DV-2020, we had Judge Mehta issued the opinion, but he didn't issue the order. So we're still waiting on the order that says when those 9,095 visas will be issued. Also, there's some activity in Congress and we're watching that and we're hopeful that that will help too. But for right now, DV-2020, you are on hold. There's no reason for DV-2020 selectees to be contacting consulates or KCC. Please don't, because you actually slow down the system and that's not good for you or anyone, okay? Fahim says, how about your client from Afghanistan with a high case number? Well, Fahim, you have two disadvantages, obviously. Everyone has disadvantages related to the tiered approach, to the delays because of 10014, the KCC's inefficiency, but you have two other barriers. So all I can say is I hope that you are able to overcome those barriers, but right now we don't know whether the State Department is going to lift their fingers to provide extra assistance for people in your situation. We have had a couple cases successfully transferred to Islamabad. So if you have not transferred your case from Kabul, we recommend that. Kabul is not reopening. Having your case assigned to Kabul is not a good idea. Okay, Alder asked, when will the last order be issued? 9,095 2020 visas. I don't know that. This is important for everybody, not just for DV-2020s. Attorneys do not decide when orders are issued, okay? Judges make those decisions, so we have to wait. Leela says, how many visas do you expect Judge Mehta is going to reserve? Leela is talking about DV 2020. Everybody, please indicate with specificity your question. Are you talking about DV 2020, 2021, 2022? From context, she's talking from 2021. We will not know how many he's going to reserve until he does it, if he does it. He doesn't have to do it. And actually, if the State Department does what they're supposed to and issues 50,000, 55,000 visas this month, it's not going to happen. I mean, like he won't have to. Okay, but and the State Department can do that. They could all issue 55,000 visas on a Tuesday if they wanted. So we just have to wait and see what the State Department does. Sandra says, "What do you call a high case number?" I don't categorize case numbers like that. Dijabar says, "Can we get interviewed without QD?" Which some people call DQ. It means documents are confirmed by KCC or by NVC if you're family-based. And the answer is it happens all the time. We see consulates interview clients who never got a 2NL, who never got DQ. That happens. There's a myth in the immigration forums that you have to follow this rigid process, and none of that is the law. You don't have to be DQ or to be interviewed by an embassy. That's not the law. Okay, I've got to slow down on the comments. You're asking questions that have been asked before. Yeah, I got slow. That's all I can do. Okay, cool. Nana says, congratulations. Congratulations, Nana, but let's wait and see. Let's get some visas issued. Okay, Abdullah says, we trust you, DV 2021 winners. Thank you, Abdullah. Nick Gunja says, how long do we need to wait? 2020 winners. Isn't the government somewhat serious on the topic, and why Judge Mehta do not respond on time? Whoa, this is not Judge Mehta causing the problem. We need to stop this narrative that the court is responsible for the hardships that are faced by our clients and for DV 2020, 2021, 2022 selectees. It's the State Department under both the Trump administration and the Biden administration that are responsible for the hardships. Please do not attribute or assign blame for the hardship to the judge. Litigation and decisions from judges are extremely important. This is like changing the law. So, well, it's defining what the law is. So we don't want that rushed. We want justice. We want it right. We don't want it quick, okay? So please, where's the order? Where's the order for DV 2020? Let's calm down with that, because the court would not like to see that, okay? Okay. Hassan asked, why go plaintiff, me take priority? There are no named plaintiffs in DV 2021 in any lawsuit that have priority over another DV 2021 selectee. There are many DV 2021 selectees that have advantages over others, but mostly disadvantages because of the embassy they're assigned to, because they need a second medical exam, because you're our client and you have the resources of our attorneys and our paralegals. That's an advantage. So lots of people have advantages and disadvantages, but nobody has priority. Okay, Tafan says, we have unpublished strategies to tackle reserved. The comment just disappeared before I could finish read it. I'm sorry, Tafan. Aguila says, what about DV 2021, please? I think you missed some information yesterday. If you scroll down on my page, there was an order in the Good Luck case that applies to all DV 2021 selectees. Start at the back. The last two pages, the last page, section 1 and 2, really speak to what Judge Mehta has ordered the State Department to do on behalf of DV 2021 selectees. He's asked for good faith efforts, okay? So the State Department has to make good faith efforts to get visas adjudicated this month. And then if he finds after a September 27th hearing that they did not make good faith efforts, then what's going to happen is he's going to reserve visas. Okay, so Rita says, about the 9,095 visas, how many visas every country will get? Will it be 7%, each same as the 55,000 for the, we don't know. We don't know that. I don't think it would be 7%. That I don't think that's the way it works at all. Mr. O says, hope DV 2022 will be cool. I hope that, but let's be realistic, it's not, okay? There are 5 people that work at KCC that process documents. 5. It's DV 2022 is not going to be okay. However, we do not have capacity to consult or take on DV 2022 clients before October. Okay. Ahmed says, I saw you are not in favor to disclose to KCC that we are good plaintiffs. Other attorneys push its disclosures to their plaintiffs to clearly communicate to KCC that they are go plaintiffs. What are your thoughts on the same? Other attorneys are wrong and I'm right. That's my thought. You want to respect the staff at KCC and respect the consular officers that work at the embassies. And as a sign of respect, to show them respect, you only give them the information they need to make their decision to help you or not to help you. If you try to make them do more work by burying the relevant information with real irrelevant information, like it's some kind of assignment for them that they need to spend an hour trying to figure out what your email says, well, your email is going to be treated as spam, or it's going to be disregarded, or they're going to give you the wrong autoresponder. Just don't do that. If you're going to communicate with an embassy, only communicate with relevant information, and it needs to be like 1, 2, 3 sentences. I see a lot of communications to KCC and embassies that are that's inappropriate. Like, here's my life story. Here's my visa journey. They don't have time for this. Also, they know when September 30th is. I see so many emails where you all email KCC to say September 30th is only 20 days away. Okay. Everyone in the world has a calendar. You don't need to tell them that. Okay. So what about Ankara Embassy? Ankara Embassy is unique amongst the 140 embassies because they have a internal policy that if the embassy was in the US, it would violate the Constitution, where they discriminate on the basis of national origin. In other words, if you are a DV lottery winner from Turkey, they will schedule your interview. If your nationality is Iranian, they will not schedule your DV lottery interview. It's the only embassy that I'm aware of in the entire system like that. I don't know the rationale for it. I've speculated about it before and people say I'm wrong. So I don't know the reason. Now, what happens now with Ankara, now that we have this favorable order? We don't know that yet. I think we will find out shortly after that guidance is posted that, again, I don't expect that for a week after the order, at least several days. Someone just asked, what about Khartoum Embassy? Khartoum Embassy, Hiva, thank you for the question, has not processed or issued any DV 2021 visas, even though thousands of DV 2021 selectees were selected in Khartoum. Why the Biden administration wants to keep out African immigrants is a mystery to me, and I am disappointed in journalists for not holding him accountable for explaining that, because to me, it's worse than what Trump did. When Trump did it, he said that's what he was doing. And Biden is keeping out immigrants and keeping it sort of secret, you know? It's like it's the thing that's happening, but it's not the thing that they're telling the world that's happening. So anyway, we hope that now we have a favorable order that Khartoum will begin scheduling, interviewing, and issuing DV 2021 visas. Okay, Rafe asked, What about Cairo Embassy after the judge order? We don't know yet. Okay. I'm realizing that many of these questions are going to be like, what about my embassy? The order was just issued. We don't know how the State Department is going to interpret the order. We don't know how the State Department is going to implement the order and what that's going to mean for you. So we have to be patient for these things. I'm not keeping this information from you. We will share it when we have it. What is your thoughts on DV 2021 winners from Ghana? My thought is I hope every single one of you gets a visa and enters the US, but it is premature to say what's going to happen. Okay. Salah says, do you think judge is still building his personal conviction about the damage? Will preservation order be disrupted without no DQ? We are 24,000. We are a nation. Yes, good luck is a small city. I wouldn't say a nation. I guess a very small nation, but let me see here. I think that Judge Mehta's order shows that he understands that there's an injury, but the State Department has an opportunity over the next couple of weeks to cure that injury. If they issue 55,000 visas, there will not be a reservation, okay? Congress only allotted 55,000 visas. So the State Department cannot issue more, the judge cannot order more, only Congress can adjust that. Okay. Somebody asked, what about the Lom Embassy? I don't know anything about how any embassy is going to implement this order at this time. That question is premature. Someone is complaining, Leonard is complaining about the Albania embassy, and he is right. Can judge order them to work with all capacity? Actually, if you read the order that was issued yesterday, there is a caveat, an exception that says if the state, I think there are three, if an embassy has a problem with like COVID or a resource restraint, which means it's understaffed, that really concerns me because most embassies are understaffed, if not all. And the third one is country conditions, which really affects embassies like Moscow, Kabul, and Baghdad. Because country conditions can mean political situations, okay? So Judge Mehta is saying his order does not change barriers related to those three things. So that could be an issue. Okay. Monica asked, what happens after September 27th? On September 27th, we have a hearing with Judge Mehta where he asks parties questions so he understands what the government did to implement their order or not implement the order. And then he will make a decision on the reservation of visas between September 27th and September 30th. Last year, he waited until September 30th, so he could do the same this year. Awad asked, what about the Ming Amendment? There are two Ming Amendments to the Department of Homeland Security Appropriations Bill, Ming 1 and Ming 2. Ming 1 is our amendment that we care about. And when I say we, I'm talking about it's the one that preserves DV 2020 and 2021 visas. It is still attached to that bill. That bill has not been, it made it out of committee. It has not been voted on by Congress. It is by the House. It has not been voted on by the Senate. It has not been signed by the President. So it's got a road ahead. I think maybe October we might find out what happens with that, but not soon. What's unique about congressional action is it can happen after September 30th because Congress actually writes the law, okay? Courts interpret the law, Congress writes the law. Mikhail asked, what about the pattern of sending 2NLs only to single man cases? I've got two things to say about that. One, it's a rumor that's not substantiated. I mean, we anecdotally, we represent over 11,000 families that are DV selectees, and we see families with multiple number of kids with a spouse being scheduled. So I don't find that's the case. And second, I know this is hard to believe, but you don't necessarily need to be DQ or have a 2NL to be scheduled for a DV lottery visa interview. That is not the law. Okay. Samir says, is it possible to adjudicate 55,000 visas by September 2021? I would say the United States government has the capacity to do incredible things, and if they wanted to, they could do that. There was one day in, like, I think 1914, where there were 100,000 people admitted to the U.S. On Ellis Island, you know? So like 100 years ago, they had the capacity to do 100,000 immigration applications in the same day. So you would think we would be more efficient now. Morocco Embassy, Yusuf said Morocco's embassy is working full staff. The only thing I need right now is KCC to schedule my interview. Actually, I've been really impressed with Casablanca. I think it is leading amongst all the embassies on the number of DVs that have been issued. However, there are so many DV selectees in Morocco, and actually there are so many plaintiffs from Morocco in our good luck case. I want to say we have 1,295 of the 11,698 DV selectees in good luck are from Morocco. So we have a lot of people that plaintiffs that we represent from Morocco. We're very fortunate to have Hussein Florida, who has always helped Moroccan DVs, and he is so knowledgeable and so helpful. He's taught me so much. Okay. Archer says, thank you for your good job. And it disappeared. We did a new filter that slows things down. Everybody stop writing your questions. It's 128 comments down, and they're going too fast for me to answer. Okay. Is KCC sending DQ2NL? Yes. They continue to send them. We see them every day. Karok asked, what is the difference between plaintiffs and non-plaintiffs? According to Judge Mehta, there's no difference. That's why I say do not indicate you are a plaintiff or a non-plaintiff when you are emailing KCC or the embassies. They do not care. Now, there's a practical difference. If you are our client and you you checked the button that allowed us to have a G28 for you, we represent you, and we will guide you through this process if there's a problem, and we will be as helpful as we can. But be reasonable. We're not magicians, okay? If you hit a snag, then you come to us and say, hey, how do I fix this? So I would say named plaintiffs in the Ray, good luck. When we're talking about DV-2021, named plaintiffs in the Ray, good luck, and Rosales case definitely have an advantage over named plaintiffs in cases where the attorneys do not offer consular processing guidance. Okay. I need to actually skip questions before they disappear because I'm getting like 10 questions a minute. Again, stop comments for a little bit. It's going to take me 4 hours to get the number that are here. So I wish there was a way to actually stop them. I don't see a way to turn off comments. Okay. Oh, here's a question about the F2A lawsuit. Is there any change in your new F2A lawsuit after the Judge Mehta decision to cancel the prioritization of interviews at the embassies? Ashraf asks. Ashraf, I'm so glad you asked that. Our F2A lawsuit is going on as scheduled. Registration in September 20th and September 27th is when we will file that case. Judge Mehta's decision in good luck affirms our legal theory that the tiered approach is unlawful as applied to the people in Tier 4. So we are very confident with our legal theory that we also have in our Sonny case and our Santos case, and we will have in the new F2A case that says the tiered approach is unlawful. So the good luck decision if you're on the fence, should I join the F2A case or not? The good luck decision affirms our legal theory. It's kind of what we call proof of concept in the business. It's what Raphael calls it. So I would recommend, if you're F2A, if you're green card holder, waiting for your spouse or child under an F2A category visa, and you're already documentarily qualified, I would recommend that you participate in that lawsuit. I think this is an advertisement, not supposed to say that. But if you're already participating in Sonny because you were a JCAT plaintiff, you don't need to. You can only participate in one lawsuit at a time. Okay. Paul says, is the decision of Judge Mehta just for DV 2021? Yes, the decision yesterday was just for DV 2021. Except that I would say that Judge Mehta made it very clear that he is disappointed in the government that he made a decision for DV 2020 that a conduct was unlawful, and yet they resumed it in October for DV 2021. So I hope that they have the good sense to like read between the lines and understand they can't do that again. Okay, if the tiered approach is unlawful as it's applied to DV 2021s, are they really going to apply that to DV 2022s? Because guess what? We will sue again and we will win again. And why do we have to do this? DV should not have to incur the cost of attorneys to make the government follow the law. Okay, so if you work for the Office of Legal Advisor with the State Department and you're watching, please get a grip and follow the law. The judge interprets the law. He says what it is. Don't think that it changes after October 1st. So you need to not apply the tiered approach to DV 2022s either, okay? If you do, I'm going to sue you and I'm going to win. Okay. So, Adi Hamadi asked, do you think that visas will be reserved for good luck because the time left for the fiscal year is 20 days? Adi, I do not think that visas will be reserved because the time left is 20 days. I think that there's a possibility that visas will be reserved after September 27th, depending on how many visas the State Department issues between now and September 27th. We don't know that, how many visas they're going to issue. They could foresee, if I worked at the State Department, okay, if I was in the Office of Legal Advisors for the State Department, if I had Edward Ramatowski's job at the Visa Office or Morgan Miles' job at KCC, this is what I would do. I would issue 55,000 visas so none are carried over. So that's a suggestion. If you're watching and you work at the State Department, you might want to consider that and make your life a lot easier going forward. Okay. Shorter questions have better chances of me reading them because I can't read them. They're scrolling so fast. Tafin asked, do we have unpublic? Disappeared again. Tafin, I'm going to get to that question the next time you post it. Okay. Ali asked, what do you think about Iranian DV winners, I think assigned to Ankara? The question disappeared. I think that it's unfortunate what Ankara is doing, and we need to wait to see how the government implements this order to see how it affects them. Last year, let's go on experience. What happened in DV 2020 is AUSA James Wynn, government attorney, gave us a list of the embassies that had capacity to accept transfers in September, and we were able to transfer some of our Iranians that were assigned to Ankara to Yerevan. And then because of the amazing Christina that's on our staff, we were able to get permission from the country of Armenia to allow our clients to cross the land border and arrive in Yerevan. So you never know what your attorneys can do. Unfortunately, in that case, Yerevan had an outbreak of COVID on September 30th and was not open for the last day. So sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. Okay. Okay, comments have slowed down a little bit. What about those whose DV 2020 interviews were canceled due to COVID-19? Disappeared. I would say if your interview was canceled, then you're in a great position with this order, because that means your file is already at the embassy and it's the low-hanging fruit, you know, on the fruit tree, the fruit that's at the very bottom. It's the easiest interview for them, the visa to issue. All they have to do, they have all your stuff ready to go. They're at the embassy. So you have an advantage over people who are still at KCC. Okay. Andy says, can the interview be postponed if one of the family members is suffering from COVID? Great question, Andy. Let me be very clear about something. If someone has COVID, do not go to an interview with COVID. The consulates all are very specific about this. They do not want people with COVID going into a consulate. And we don't want that either. We don't want consular officers being at risk. If you have COVID, you need to stay home. Now, if the DV selectee doesn't have COVID, the DV selectee could still go to the interview and be issued a visa. That would be a great thing because it gives a future path. Say September 30th happens and the rest of your beneficiaries are not issued visas, at least you can come to the US, get a green card, and then petition for your beneficiary. So you do have a future path to the US. It's like a plan B, okay? So you didn't specify whether or not it was the selectee or the beneficiary with COVID. But if it's a beneficiary with COVID, I recommend the DV selectee still go to the interview. But I don't want anybody with COVID attending an interview. Okay. What is the ask to embassies? I missed it. What about cases that have not received DQ yet? Well, Hussam, if you look at the order from yesterday, Judge Mehta was specific that he wanted processing to resume at KCC also. So they have to make good faith efforts to resume processing. My concern is they only have 5 people there to do processing, and I don't know what they consider good faith efforts. From my perspective, good faith efforts would be hiring 100 contractors to make up for the negligence and competence that they've had over the last 6 years. But I don't know if they will do that. I don't think that they will. So we have to wait and see. Maz asked, what about the winners of DV 2020? Let me tell you, 2022. Maza, you have a long road ahead. Okay. The one tip I want to give to DV 2022 is do not wait for the State Department to request your documents, because if you do, people that are submitting documents before you are going to get an advantage over you. Okay. Okay. Andy asks, it was the beneficiary. Thanks. Okay, Andy. Also, Andy, I hope that the loved one, your family member, has a full recovery and is healthy soon. Okay, because I know COVID is serious business. So that's good that the selectee can attend the interview. Ahmed says, what is the ask to embassies if we will contact them to try to push our cases? Ahmed, the ask is not any different today than it was yesterday, okay? The embassy has not received guidance yet from the visa office on how to implement this order. So if you start emailing the embassy or KCC about this order today, they're going to say, we don't know, okay? So hold off on those emails. Even though I'm saying this, only 300 people are watching. KCC and the embassies are going to get hundreds of thousands of emails this weekend, and it's going to bury them, and some of those are going to bury like things that actually need to happen. So hold off on your emails that are not reasonable. It's not reasonable to ask KCC or an embassy to act on information that they don't have yet, and they don't have the information on how to implement this order yet. June asked how long would it take for them to receive. First of all, let me talk about how they receive the information. They receive it in what's called an ALDAC, which is a State Department cable, and it goes out usually to all the embassies. And before those are sent out, the attorneys at the Office for Legal Advisors have to review them and author them. And they make sure they're lawful. They sometimes mess that up like they did in November, and that's why we got a favorable order. Sorry, attorneys for the Office of Legal Advisor, but you messed up. So anyway, so that cable will probably take a week to get sent out. It may be a few days if they want to impress the judge, and that would be great. Samira says, do higher numbers stand a chance in this order? Yes, Samira, let me tell you why. Higher number is a disadvantage. You know what else is a disadvantage? Being an Afghan that is stuck in your house in Kabul. Being a Russian that your embassy is closed. Being in Australia when there's all these COVID barriers, or being an Australian that's not in Australia, you can't get to Australia. There are having a vaccination history that causes you to have a false positive test for TB so that you need a second medical exam. So lots of people face barriers, okay? And many of those barriers are unique to the times that we're living in. And so just because you have this one barrier, that's a factor. And other people have other barriers. And so we don't know what that's going to be. And also, you're not giving me all the information. We don't know if your documents are confirmed. So high case number with documents confirmed have an advantage over high case numbers that don't have documents confirmed, okay? And also, which embassy you're assigned to is hugely important. Okay, so can Afghan transfer their DV-2020 cases before Judge Metis orders whose interviews were canceled due to COVID-19 in Kabul? Kayla Cod, I didn't say your name right. That is an excellent question. I wish they could, but it's my understanding that nothing can happen with those DV-2020 cases until the judge says when they will be issued. So you have to wait. Massine asked, how many DV-2021 visas do you think they will process total approximately? I could guess, but there's no reason for me to guess. I don't know. We have to wait and see. We're the winner of DV-2022 from Afghanistan. And I lost the comment. There should be a way I could scroll to find it. Someone needs to teach me how to use Facebook. If you're assigned to Kabul as a visa applicant, please request a transfer to another embassy. What we have learned with visa applicants that are assigned to embassies that are closed, until you transfer your case, nothing is going to happen with your application, okay? So if you're assigned to Baghdad, Kabul, Moscow, do what you can to get your application transferred to another post. Do not try to get your interview at an embassy that is not doing interviews. That's not reasonable. Now, at the same time, we're not magicians. The State Department is not helping us right now with those transfers, especially from Moscow and also Baghdad. So whether or not the State Department will do that after this order, we're very hopeful that they will. So that's where that stands. Anita says, is there any chance to go to interview without DQ? The answer is yes. Okay. Robert says, what can I do to help? Who needs a letter or phone call? Congressional delegation or the State Department? What? And the comment disappeared. Short comments so they don't scroll. Robert, you didn't give me a piece of information that's very important. Are you a U.S. citizen or a green card holder or U.S. resident? Because the most effective people in lobbying members of Congress to save a DV program or affect a public policy are the people who are located inside the U.S. Okay, foreign nationals lobbying our government, it's not as effective. Alfred asked, what chance do cases in the range of 30 to 40 have? I don't know. There's no way to calculate that, Alfred. When you ask a question about probability, and we're in uncharted territory, we're dealing with something that's never happened before, usually those questions I can't answer. If I'm sleepy, I might guess, but then my guess is wrong and then everybody's angry. Regarding the new F2A mandamus lawsuit, and the comment's gone. I need shorter comments. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. What happened in the case? I can't get part of last minute arranged interview. Well, then Andre, then you hope that Judge Mehta reserves and carries over the visas past the September 30th deadline. We won't know about that until September 27th. Robert Jones says, U.S. citizen, we both went to Jeff High. Wow. Hi, Robert. I remember you. I went to high school with Robert. That's great. It's funny, I thought about that. I was like, oh, Robert Jones. Okay, yeah, so I can't remember who the congressman is in Indiana anymore. It's not Lee Hamilton. So anyway, yes, there's a Ming Amendment to the DHS appropriations bill. If you could let your member of Congress know that you support the Ming #1 amendment that preserves DV 2020 and 2021 visas, that would be great. Thank you. Good to hear people from my past. Kiku says, what of the embassies not scheduling enough DV cases like the Accra embassy? That's very frustrating, Kiku. And the thing is, those embassies, according to this order, can no longer use the tiered approach as an excuse. We think that now they can't use the tiered approach as an excuse and that they have to make good faith efforts, that's going to change. It's not going to change today, but it's going to change within a week. Okay. DV 2020 Muhammad plaintiff, my interview was canceled with a high case number. DV 2020, you need to be patient because we've got a favorable opinion. We're just waiting for the order on when those 9,095 visas are going to be issued. Now, if your interview was canceled because of a travel ban like 9645 or 9983, the Muslim or African bans, I think you actually have an advantage because your case is already at the embassy. Okay, so a lot of people from Sudan and Iran and Yemen ask me, oh no, am I at a disadvantage because I was refused for the Muslim ban or the African ban? And my answer is, I don't think so. I don't think that you're going to be at a disadvantage. I think you're going to have an advantage because you're already assigned to an embassy. Ahmed says, if class action confirmed, priority for plaintiffs by default. Ahmed, I need you to specify which year. I guess you're talking, my guess is DV 2021, and you're talking about the motion for class action in Rosales. If that's the case, you are correct that there's not been a decision on that motion yet. And it's possible after September 27th that Judge Mehta will use that class as a vehicle to reserve visas. We don't know that. He may reserve visas without using the class. However, Judge Mehta has now issued two orders, the latest Gomez order in DV 2020 and the Good Luck order, that have made clear that he is not a fan of prioritizing named plaintiffs, that he's not going to do that. And you know, let me just say that for those of you saying that's not fair because we used our treasure, our resources to bring these cases to the court, to bring justice, I hear you and I agree with you, and I'm really troubled on what we're going to do for DV 2022, because if no one is going to get a personal benefit of priority, I mean, we don't know that, but that's what Judge Mehta's view is for bringing that kind of case. Are we going to be able to have, will people be willing to participate in a case where we tell them it looks like there's no chance at priority? So it could be DV 2022 unless you're willing to just contribute to the effort and sort of a, I actually don't know the word. I'm thinking socialism, kind of like what's best for the whole. If you're willing to contribute to the effort, then yes, maybe litigation might work. But it's premature to talk about DV 2022 right now. Let's wait till October. Someone asked, what about European Embassy 2021? Good luck. Okay, the order was issued yesterday. Embassies don't know how to implement the order yet. So questions about individual embassies in relation to the order, we don't have those answers yet. Okay. Anu says he's from Nepal. Interview was canceled because of medical hold. I think Anu is DV 2021. I'm not sure. The medical hold is a particularly harsh challenge for DV selectees because that second medical exam can take 2 months, and this is a time-sensitive project. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but if that's your situation, I always suggest just do things as quick as you can, and what happens happens, right? You tried. Okay. Niji says, hello, only those in the lawsuit will be issued a visa or in any case? I think what you're asking, Nija, is do named plaintiffs in the lawsuit have an advantage over people who were not participating in the lawsuit? And the answer is they don't have an advantage because they're a named plaintiff. They may have an advantage for another reason, but the order that Judge Mehta issued in Good Luck does not prioritize one DV category, DV 2021 selectee over another. Okay, everybody's equal to him. Okay. Farouk asked a very important question. Will the U.S. Embassy in Tashkent host DV 2021? Farouk, we don't know that yet. We are hopeful. As of now, the U.S. Embassy in Tashkent, of course, has not issued a single diversity visa, and we are very frustrated with that embassy. But we don't know how they will implement this order, and we will not know for a few days at least, maybe a week. Valerie says, why government count the processing fee? Let's see if I can find the rest of that question. If winner can pay processing fee, they can process even after the fiscal year. No, they can't. Valerie, Congress allots visa numbers to the State Department to issue, and they're only for a period of time. Congress has said that at September 30th, those visa numbers expire unless a court intervenes because of equity or something. So the State Department can't decide on their own that they are going to extend the deadline. Judge can do that, Congress can do that. State Department cannot decide to extend the deadline. Now here's what's interesting. I've gone to the State Department in both DV 2020 and 2021 litigation and saying, hey, will you stipulate to this, to extending the deadline? Because if you stipulate to it and the judge said it's okay, then there's nobody complaining. They don't go for it. And the reason is the Biden administration has a lot of Trump holdovers that are anti-immigrant. That's my personal view. I could be wrong. Jimmy asked, do you think there's a chance of adjustment of status option with DV 2020? I get this question a lot. I've asked the government this question, government attorneys, and they have not answered. And they have actually said that they don't have to answer, which is unique. I don't think we will find out the answer to that question until after we have the order on when those visas will be, those 9,095 visas will be issued. And I don't know the answer. I don't know if adjustment of status will be an option or not. Tursit says, what about Ethiopia embassy, please? I don't know how Ethiopia embassy, U.S. embassy in Ethiopia is going to, is that Addis Ababa? I don't know how they're going to implement this order yet. We have to wait a few days to see what the State Department does. DV-2020 says, how do I transfer my case out of Kabul? You don't right now. Wait until DV-2020 processing begins. There's not an actual procedure for consulates or embassies to deal with DV-2020 cases at this time. We have to wait for an order from Judge Mehta to say when those DV-2020 visas will be issued. Okay. Yevon says, should I transfer DV-2020 case from Abu Dhabi to Kiev? I don't know. Before you consider any transfer, I always look at three things, okay? And it's going to require research on your behalf, because I don't have time to do this research for every DV selectee that we represent. You want to check the July visa statistics. Those are that's the last month where monthly visa statistics were published. Check the immigrant visa statistics and the non-immigrant visa statistics. Because if they were issuing non-immigrant visas, that means they have consular officers working. And that means now after this order, they have to issue DVs. So I would actually look at both. I would look at immigrant visa statistics and non-immigrant visa statistics. The second thing I would look at is the website for the consulate that you are considering transferring to, and see if they're citing country conditions like Moscow, Kabul, and Iraq. See if they're citing COVID-19. I think most of them probably are. And see if they're citing resource restraints. I haven't seen them cite that, but those are the three things that could be a barrier where they don't have to implement this order as stringently as an embassy that does not have those barriers, okay? And also, the third thing I would check is forums to find out in the comment sections and find out what's happening with other people at those embassies, because you don't want to transfer from one embassy that's bad to another embassy that's bad, okay? Because you just become, when you transfer, we've heard from at least one embassy, you end up at the end of the line at the new embassy, and you don't want to end up at the end of the line of an embassy that's bad. That's a bad idea. Okay. Sina says, how will KCC process? Facebook is so confusing. Okay, I'm just going to go down to the bottom. I'm sorry, I'm skipping a lot of questions. Mary says, my case number is 29,000 so far. Slow up with the comments, y'all. Neither the DS-260 nor the documents have been studied. Is there any hope for passing the interview? Yes. And let me say this to everybody. Do not give up hope yet. You do not have enough information to give up hope. I got some hate mail last night. I'm like, hate mail? You don't know that you didn't get a visa yet. I don't care what your barrier is. I don't care if you're in Afghanistan or you're Moscow or Iraq or stranded on an island or something. You don't know that you didn't get a visa yet, okay? So if you're giving up hope right now, it's like the same as buying a lottery ticket and deciding to tear it up before they announce the numbers. Don't do that. Nobody give up hope yet, okay? There's been a development, but there's not been like a final, this is who's getting visas and this is who is not getting visas. So chill out a little bit. Karok says, what matters in the case of good luck? What matters? I'm not sure what you mean by what matters. Tawana asked, what is the next step for those DV, for the 2020 winners who have not gotten an interview yet in Iraq as embassy is closed? Tawana, all 2020 winners need to sit on their hands until Judge Mehta issues an order that says when those DV 2020 visas will be issued. Once he issues that order, I want you to move heaven and earth, do everything you can to get with KCC, to get with embassies, and get your case transferred from Baghdad to Amman, okay? Because you do not want your case scheduled or assigned to an embassy that's closed. But there's nothing you can do now. You have to wait until we get an order. Laela asked, what about cases under administrative processing? Good question. Will they be processed? Lost the question. Will they be processed quicker now? The order says that the State Department shall undertake good faith efforts, and he specifically cited KCC. He pointed to KCC and he said, I'm talking to you. They need to take good faith efforts to process cases. So my expectation is that KCC will honor the order so that they can impress the judge. Now, I don't know how they're going to do that with only 5 people processing applications. Mr. Miles, if you're listening, you might think about assigning some more people to that. Maybe post an ad. LDRM is hiring, by the way, if anybody's looking for a job in the US. So yes, I do anticipate that KCC is going to pick up the rate of processing DV 2021 visas. Okay. I got the same question again. Niji Felix says, what if I'm not a plaintiff in the lawsuit? Okay. Judge Mehta's order yesterday for good luck was clear. If you go to the very last page, sometimes legal language in an opinion is difficult to understand if you didn't have legal training, but Judge Mehta is such a good writer. If you go to the last page, you should be able to understand this. The first section and the section, it's labeled 1 and 2. These are the 2 that apply, that matter. And in 2, he has a caveat. He has 3 caveats, and one of the caveats is a disclosure where he says that named plaintiffs do not get priority. Okay, so if you were not a plaintiff in good luck, you do not get priority, or plaintiffs in any of the lawsuits do not get priority over non-plaintiffs. However, they may have advantages because they have a representation, or they may have disadvantages because of where they're assigned or whatever. Okay. I see you asked that question again. Stop asking that question. Amir says, hi, Mr. Miles. Oh, Amir. Okay. Marwa asked why paralegal changed. Good question. We just made decisions that were internal to our law firm that we had to readjust our staff size. Okay. Not everybody's paralegal changed, but we did have some paralegals change. And I can assure you that the paralegals who, if you did have your paralegal change, the paralegal that's taking over your case has access to everything that's happened so far and will be able to help you. Why do you keep asking this question? I have answered this question. Eamon says, is there any hope for Syrian winter? Yes. Any question that says, is there any hope? The answer is yes. The reason is it's not over yet, okay? So don't give up hope yet. Clement says, what if KCC does nothing? Is there any consequences they can face? Clement, that is a great question, and I love it because it gives me an opportunity to talk a little bit about the United States and why it's a great country to live in. The 3 branches of government, okay? The executive branch, the president and all the agencies like State Department, the legislative branch, Congress, and the courts. And basically, the courts decide what the law means. Like Congress sets the law, and then the courts decide what it means. The executive branch has to carry out the laws. Okay, that's what the president and the State Department have to do. So if a court says this is the law, and people in the executive branch to say we're not going to do that, well, federal judges have enormous power. They have federal marshals. They can say, okay, well, put that person in jail. Put that person in jail. Assess a fine against this person. Sanctions against them. Now, here's the reality. This doesn't happen. And the reason it doesn't happen is because this country is 250 years old. And it's fundamental to how it works. So the executive branch understands that they have to follow what the courts say. Okay, if they didn't, that would be a scandal. The most historic example of that happening was like a case in the 1850s with President Andrew Jackson that wanted to be mean to Native Americans, and the court said don't do that, and he did it anyway. And it doesn't happen that the executive branch ignores the courts very often. And the last example I can think of was 170 years ago. Okay, so it's not going to happen here. The State Department's going to do what the court ordered them to do. If they don't, they'll be in contempt, and the court will be able to actually could do some really mean things like sanction them or put them in jail. But what they'll probably do is give you more relief, in this case, after September 27th, in holding over visas past the deadline. Talk to us about MVC and Cairo Embassy and aging out issues, please. Okay, those are 3 different conversations. I don't know how to combine them into one conversation. Your family preference, your family preference category. Aging out issues is not something that I really can discuss in a video. It's not my expertise. We have Christina on our staff is so good at that. It requires complicated math, and I would just say to take them very seriously. CISPA, which is the aging out statute, CSPA, can be very unforgiving. Okay, so you have to pay close attention to it. And I recommend if someone's threatened with aging out, that they have legal counsel early. Okay, don't wait till the last minute because you need an attorney on your side. Okay. Doesn't have to be us, but make sure you have an attorney on your side. Okay. Tiju asked, when can we expect the first hearing for Sonny versus Biden case? I'm glad we didn't have it yet, because now we have more law to talk about that's on our side from the good luck order, and that's great. Judge Kogan has set a status conference for September the 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to say it's video. I don't know if it's public yet. I sent an email about that, but I don't think that anybody's seen. I don't know. I'm so far behind in emails. So isn't the 13th Monday? So Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're a Sonny versus Biden client, we have a status conference Monday. Let me think about that for a second. I'm getting 2 cases confused. That's not. Let me withdraw that answer. I don't know how to do that. I'm getting 2 cases confused. We've got a cases filed for Yemeni called Shavy, and that's in the Southern District of New York, and then we've got the Sonny case in the Eastern District of New York. And I just realized that I've got those cases confused in my head. So I don't have the answer to that question yet. Aina says, I'm a green card holder. My sister is a DV 2021 winner. How can I help her with her case? You're waiting 3 weeks before the deadline to ask that question. We're not accepting any more DV 2021 clients, so that's not an option. So let me see here. Actually, I don't know at this point if she's either done what she needed to do to get where she's at, or she didn't. So coming in 3 weeks before the deadline and trying to help is almost a little late. So pay attention to the State Department website for the next week, because they're going to have a new guidance. Okay. Falsey says, I'm good luck in Qatar. That's not DQ. What is the chance after reservation? I can't calculate that. There's no way to calculate that. Okay. People that calculate probabilities, like whether a horse will win a race, do that based on the last race the horse ran. This was a novel lawsuit, and these are novel conditions, and we don't have a track record with this specific situation that we could actually like do a mathematical calculation and give you probabilities. So I'm sorry, I'm optimistic. This is a good question. What should the citizens of Russia do? If the citizens of Russia, visa applicants in Russia, have friends and family that are US citizens, please tell them to lobby their members of Congress to do something about what's happening at Moscow. We don't have any visa interviews happening at the Moscow Embassy, which is understandable given the situation. But here's what's unforgivable on behalf of the Biden administration. They have not designated another embassy to take the visa applicants that were assigned to Moscow. If you look at history, when Tehran closed in Iran, they designated 3 embassies. When we closed the embassy in Havana in Cuba, just a couple years ago, they reassigned people to eventually reassign them to Guyana. When they closed the Yemeni embassy in 2016, they reassigned to Djibouti. I want to know why they closed the Moscow embassy and they have not designated a new embassy to handle Russian visa applicants. This is causing an extraordinary amount of hardship to Russian American families that are separated, and also to Russian DV selectees. So basically, you're preaching to the choir. I'm on the same page. I don't know the answer. We just have to keep asking the government to do something about that. Adil asked, what KCC will do with cases without confirmation? Well, Adil, if they follow the order, they need to be working harder now. They need to be making good faith efforts there in Williamsburg to get cases processed, and I believe they will. I don't know if it will be enough to satisfy Judge Mehta, though. Yusuf says, what should Moroccan do? I would say Moroccans should check their emails, because you're in a unique situation because Casablanca is actually scheduling interviews. Of course, there's so many Moroccan DV winners, but just make sure you're ready, because they may try to fit a bunch of people in that last week, and I don't want you to say, oh, shoot, I left the country. Oh, I'm not available. My car's broke. Everybody have gas in your car if you have a car. Be ready to go. Okay. Sonny says, how will KCC process DV 2020 if not a priority? That question is premature, because they are not processing DV 2020 right now. They will not process DV 2020 until Judge Mehta issues an order to say when the 9,095 visas are issued, or Congress comes forth with some relief. I think most likely from the Ming Amendment and the DHS appropriation bill. So it would be premature right now to ask KCC or a consulate to do anything for DV 2020. If you're DV 2020, There's nothing you can do right now, but be patient. Exception. If your passport's about to expire, go get a new passport, because the State Department does not issue visas to visa applicants who have passports that are going to expire in the next 6 months. Okay. Araz says, what about Iraqi plaintiff and good luck? Good question. I need more information. I don't know where you're assigned. If your documents have not been confirmed, you have a window where you could contact KCC and transfer your file from Baghdad to Amman. I hope you have done that. But if you have not done that, hopefully within a few days, when we have the guidance on how the order will be implemented, we'll be able to give you further guidance. I need to take well, actually, I'm going to wrap up. I'm just going to take one more question and I'm going to wrap up, because I just realized I've got some place to be. Okay. According to statistics, all 9,095 visas are already sitting in different embassies worldwide. How can cases without 2NL get an interview? Okay. What this question presumes is these statistics were not given out by the State Department. They were collected by people that made some assumptions. Here's the biggest assumption that was made, that these embassies are open. Second assumption, that these families are still wanting the visas, okay? I think that these assumptions about these 9,000, who's gonna get these 9,000 visas are not necessary, and they're counterproductive, because what you're doing is you're extinguishing hope, and there's no reason to do that until we have the answer, okay? So just be patient, wait for the answer, and then we'll know. Okay, I don't want to leave on that question. I want a more positive thought to be my last thought. Has the PI been granted to Rosales versus Biden plaintiff? Okay, Arun, every Rosales versus Biden plaintiff is a DV-2021 selectee, and Judge Mehta has granted PI relief, preliminary injunctive relief, to every DV-2021 selectee. That includes the Rosales plaintiffs. So the answer is indirectly yes, because you're a DV-2021 selectee, you have received injunctive relief. Look at the order, scroll down on the page to get to the link to the order, and or you should have got it in your email, and look on the last page, and that's what the relief is. Muslim asks, will this order speed up the DV-2021 AOS process too? Thank you. I don't think so. The DV-2021 AOS process, for most part, is going extremely fast. I've been impressed with it. Of course, that process is at USCIS, not at the State Department. But this order is mainly directing the State Department to take good faith efforts. That's where the bottleneck is. Bakatior says, why Uzbekistan does not accept VVs? And I've talked about this a little bit yesterday. Tashkent has a problem, and I don't know what that problem is, but there's something about that consulate that seems more anti-immigrant than all 140 consulates combined. We hope that that changes, but I don't know what it's going to take to change that. Maybe President Biden, if he decides to take over the State Department, that would be a start. So everybody, drink water, breathe air. We'll give updates when we have them. If you're a Spanish speaker, I'm going to do another Facebook Live with a Spanish translator at 2. If you're Arabic speaker, I'm going to be a guest with Sahir at 1 p.m. today. These are Pacific Standard Time. And breathe air, it's important. Thank you for joining me with your questions. I'm sorry for the hundreds of questions I didn't get to today. Hi, this is Curtis Morrison. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Thank you.